Hello, my name is Trevor Tuck, and this is my 1987 Ford F700. I need some help with a couple things, so I figured I'd reach out to the best of the best, see if I can get some information. Just some quick facts here. This is the 7.8 liter turbo diesel from Ford New Holland, made in Brazil, and engine's only got 112,000 on it, so it's still barely even a baby. I plan to drive this thing all up and down the West Coast over the next, 5 years, something like that. So I've spent the past year trying to get this thing on the road, and my main problem has been the brakes and the rear axle. But I'll let you hear what it sounds like real quick, just because I think the engine sounds beautiful. One sec here. I'll put the microphone up in the... Ain't she pretty? It's like I was saying, the main issue I'm having with my truck has to do with the rear axle and the brakes. This is the original axle that came out of the truck. I was one of the lucky ones because I got a rusted shut Lucas Girling brake system, and parts were damn near $1,500 per side for new old stock drum brakes, which is just insane to me because I plan to use this truck for the next 5 years. I'm not paying $1,500 every time I need to do brakes. Granted, it'll be less if I'm just doing pads, but everything was rusted shut. The drums, my dad actually cracked them in half in order to separate the drums because they were seized in place. They had been captive against the pads, against the shoes. And so once I realized that this was not going to be an option for just fixing these brakes, I pulled the axle out. And then I bought this thing, which is an 85 F600 rear drum axle, thinking it would just be an easy swap. It ended up not being that easy of a swap, both because these leaf spring mounting points don't meet up at the same point on the frame, and also because these drums are just smaller than the original drums by like a sizable amount. It just didn't seem right to put this small of an axle on that big of a truck. So I'll show you what I ended up doing. This is my International 4300 disc brake axle that I got from Spalding Auto Parts in Spokane, and then drove it all the way back over here to the west side of Washington State. Now this axle is great. I've already hooked up the brake lines to the master cylinder. All the brake lines are fresh. By the way, I also redid the front brake calipers. Those are discs as well. So all the brake lines are great now. Everything's good for braking. I've bled them. They have pressure. But the problem is that when I bought this axle from Spalding, they said it didn't come with axle shafts. They said I have to find my own axle shafts. But they said they'd give me a piece of paper that had the info on it for the model number of the truck that it came off of so that I could find the axle shafts. And it didn't. They put the wrong truck on the piece of paper. And so now I'm stuck here with this axle, trying to find axle shafts for it, and I got no clue what model axle this is. All I know is that it came off of a 2006 or a 2007 International 4300. And the only numbers anywhere on this axle, I'll read them to you right now. There's one on the very back of the bell. It says 129154, and that 5 is kind of iffy, might be something else. And then over here, there's a little tag that says 05005986. And that's it. I've looked everywhere else on this axle. There's nothing that says Eaton. There's nothing that says Dayton. There's nothing that says International. There's nothing that says Dana. There's just like 2 numbers. And that's it. That's all I got to go off of. And then the knowledge that it came off of an 06 or an 07 International 4300. So that's the first thing that I really need some help with, is figuring out what the model numbers are for the left and right axle shafts for this truck. And then if, bonus round, where to get them. I'm in the upper Northwest here, so anywhere in Washington State would be preferable, but I can pay for shipping if you know somewhere else that can send them here. So that's the first thing, okay? All right, second thing is going to be the differential. This is the differential that came with the axle. It's got a driveline brake on the end, like a school bus brake. So I'm going to wire that into the cab so that I have a way to stop the vehicle, seeing as I got rid of the parking canisters on the Lucas Girling system. So that'll be fine. The only problem is, well, it's not really a problem. If I threw this in right now, I'd be golden. However, the gear ratio on this ring and pinion is 5.57. Now the stock gear ratio on my truck was 5.33. Both of these are going to net me a top freeway speed of something like 50, 55 miles an hour. This one probably 50, the original probably about 55. I would like to increase that speed to 65 or 70 if possible, using a different ring and pinion gear. I don't know where to look for this information. If someone could point me in that right direction, that'd be great. I figured I'd try to take care of this now while the differential is still out, because when I bought the axle and the diff, they came separated. So I figured, hey, since it's open right now, let's try to get the right ring and pinion in there so that I don't have to worry about it in the future. I'll read you some of the numbers that I see on the machine here. We got, well, just right over here, we got, it's a Spicer, model number 17060S. 60S, rather. The ratio is 5.57. It says the part number is 511083. 39 spline. And, you know, my dad's a motorcycle mechanic. He says he thinks he and I could figure out how to take this apart and put in the new ring and pinion, no problem. But getting the actual ring and pinion is my issue. I don't know how to get the right one with a ratio that's better than this. Something like 4 sounds pretty good. Just me knowing nothing, 4 sounds good. Something close to 4, I don't know, 4.3, something like that. You just need a lower ratio so we can get more spin on the back end. I'm not going to be pushing anywhere near as much weight as this engine was designed to be pushed for. This truck used to be a mobile mechanic station on the railway, the Burlington Northern Railroad. Used to be, you know, up on the rails. It had little wheelies that would come down and sit on the rails so that it could go and find a broken down train engine and pull off the parts of the engine and repair it on the truck and then put them back on the engine. It's pretty cool. I'm just using it as an RV camper. Eventually I might tow something, but for the driving up and down the West Coast, I'd like to have a better ratio. So that pretty much sums up my problems here. Need some axle shafts, and I need a new ring and pinion. If anybody can help me, I'd be much appreciated. Any information, any links, parts, links to manuals, I'd be willing to pay for some of this information if somebody, you know, can really help walk me through this process here. I'm in a desperate need to get this truck out of my parents' backyard, which is where it's been sitting for a year, and they don't love the axles sitting around the yard as like a lawn decoration, which I totally get. One last thing, this is just like a little bonus point. One of the studs is missing on either side of the axle. Both sides have a stud missing here. Don't know what that's about, but I need another one of those for both sides too. Don't have a part number, so if you could help me out, that'd be great. Spins nice and fine. Thank you for watching. I forgot to say one last thing. If anybody is interested in these axles, hit me up. The F600 axle's in perfect working order. It's just too small for my truck, and then you can have what's left of the Lucas Girling brake system. But if you know, you know. This thing is junk.